Okay, I'd like to formally welcome Patti MacAhonic from the BC NDP party, running in the riding of Chilliwack. So Patti, thank you very much
for coming
to Central Elementary School, taking time out of your busy schedule the last couple of days before voting. So we appreciate you taking the time to help these kids understand their roles and responsibilities when they get a little older.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much everybody for coming in, and I really appreciate being able to talk to you. I've been able to talk to some other young people your age on doorsteps, and it's really exciting for me as a candidate to know that people are starting to become more engaged, more interested, and realizing how important it is, the process of democracy, and so that we are all entitled in our country, in Chilliwack, in BC, where we have the opportunity to freely vote for who we think and what we think will be best for us and our families. So really excited to see you all here, and with that I'd kind of like to get started by maybe just telling you a little bit about myself and the reason I'm running for politics. So I was really happy to be here because part of the reason I'm running, I've never run for political office. This is the very first time. Never done this before. But I have 5 grandchildren. And I have one that's younger than you guys, and I have 4 that are older, and they're all in school. And I want a better future for them. I want a better future for young people. And I think that as adults, it's our responsibility to do better in a variety of ways. So when I grew up, we didn't have a lot, and things were not always really easy. I didn't always have the nice clothes and all of those kinds of things. I was a regular kid, kind of geeky. I had glasses and an old bike, and I really liked science. But I had some really good teachers, and I think your teacher, Mr. Lister, and your teachers here providing something like this is just wonderful. So I got married pretty young, and I moved to northern BC. I grew up in the Lower Mainland, and it was rural. So we lived on a gravel road, and I got to be outside and play a lot and bike ride and do things like that. But I moved up to northern BC and started my family. I had 3 children, and we had 5 acres, and I loved the outdoors. So we had a pretty nice life. We gardened, fished, and did a lot of family types of things. And then my husband went to work one day, and he got hurt very, very badly, and then he passed away. So it was a very sad time, and it was very tough, and I lost everything, and I moved back, and I wanted to live closer to my family. So we moved, and where I grew up in the Lower Mainland, it wasn't rural anymore and gravel roads. There was a lot of people and very built up. So I came to Chilliwack because I'm more of a country kind of person. I like the mountains and the outdoors. So I've been here 23 years. And what I'd like to say about that is when things happen, sometimes we don't always get to choose what happens to us. We don't always get to choose our circumstances. We don't have a choice about that. But what we do have is we have a choice about what we want to do about it. So when I moved here, I decided that I looked at the legislation for survivors, who are mostly women, and their children for workplace fatalities, and found out that it was 70 years old. So we're going back a few years. So when I found that out, women, when that legislation was put in place, didn't even have a vote. So I wasn't all that educated, but I knew that wasn't right, and somebody had to do something. So I started lobbying. I'd never been to Victoria. I didn't even own a suit at that time. And I went and bought a suit, and I went over to Victoria, and I was very naive. And I started lobbying for change for survivors of workplace fatalities and their kids, because I didn't want anybody to have to go through what me and my kids went through. It took me 13 years. And while I was doing that, I thought, maybe they'll listen to me a little more if I have some letters behind my name, if I have a degree. Maybe that will help. So I went back to school while I was working, and I got a degree here at the University of the Fraser Valley in adult education. And I used my writing for that to actually put together a report on women's pension needs in the UK, the US, and Canada, married, widowed, and divorced, and finally they changed legislation in 2003. So that was how I really got engaged into the political process. So while I was working that, then I went back to school and I did a master's in business. So I spent a lot of time in school and a lot of time studying. So some of the jobs I had over the years, because of what happened to my late husband in that, I got interested in brain injury. So I was executive director of the BC Brain Injury Association, Community Services Association, and I had a really exciting job, the only woman in Canada to be the executive director of a fish and game organization, the BC Wildlife Federation, because I really love the outdoors and because our environment and where we live, our planet is very important to me. I just really had a lot of fun with that. So I've worked in Ottawa, I've lobbied on navigable waters, I'm a fisheries advocate. I've spoken at the Cohen Inquiry. I was a named participant on advocating for our fish. And I've been in Victoria quite a bit working on all sorts of issues like energy, mining, water, land use, fish, wildlife. So very important to me. When I left there, I ended up working at the Chamber of Commerce and working with our small business in Chilliwack. Then I kind of was looking around and I thought, you know what, I've been an NDP all my life and I'm just looking how what I see has happened over the last years is we have the business over here, an environment over here, and it's very polarized, so we're not connecting, right? And I thought, you know what, I have a business background and a lot of experience, and I have a strong conservation background, and what we need, I believe, in my opinion, and my party agrees with this, is we need a strong economy, we need lots of opportunities for young people, and we need sustainable natural resources. And I believe strongly that if we work properly and we think outside the box and that we work together, we can come up with solutions that will make a change for the better for future generations and for now. So that's sort of why I got involved and who I am in a nutshell, maybe not quite as short as I want it. But so now I'm going to talk about the platform. So I'm really excited to be a part of the NDP team. We have a great leader. Maybe have some of you here seen any of the commercials? Change for the better. Yeah, one practical step at a time. Okay, so that's what we're about. We want to have a change for the better, but we're not going to go in and change everything. We're going to do it one practical step at a time. And if we have things that are working well, we will keep it and maybe build on it. And if we have things that aren't working so well, maybe we'll change it a little more to make sure that we have the right fit on how we go forward. So what we're going to be working on is jobs. So that means supporting BC's resource economy. So our natural resource, agriculture, forestry, all the different resource and energy, mining, all of those things. So we need a diversified economy. So we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. You guys heard that saying, hey? Put it on one basket, you drop it, that's it. We need to, okay. What it means is if you put everything in one, like say if you wanted to put everything in liquefied natural gas or if something, the market falls or something like that, then there's no jobs. So what we want is a balanced and diversified market so that we have jobs across all sectors, okay? So we're looking at right now, over the last 12 years, we've lost, the completion rate for trades training has dropped way down. We used to be the pride of Canada. We used to have the best completion rate in trades. These are good jobs that pay well, that can support families and give you a good lifestyle. And the completion rate has gone way, way down. So what we're going to do is put more money into trades and apprenticeship training. So, and we have a great trade center right here at our university. So we have more opportunities for you when you leave school or as you're getting into grade 11 and 12 to have those opportunities. Change for the better means reducing poverty and inequality. So right now, what we have in Canada, in BC, in Canada, how do I put it? Right now in our province, what we have is we have the highest household wealth and we have the lowest poor households. And I'm not okay with that. what happens then is people that are poor are getting poorer, people that are way up here are getting richer, and what's happening is the people in between are getting squeezed more and more. So parents are out working, they're trying to make ends meet, and they just can't do it like they used to. It's tough out there. So we're going to be working to put in programs, to put in better daycare, money into daycare, so that people, when they are working in that, they can afford to live a little better and have a better lifestyle. And that's really important to us. So, talking about school, so co-op opportunities, this could go underneath jobs and it could go underneath education. Does anybody here know what co-op education is? We have one person. So what co-op education is where when you're in university or college and you want to go and work for the summer, they will give you a paid co-op position. So you're not, right now a lot of the co-op is you're going, but you're getting your skills, but you can't really afford to because you need to work, because you have to pay for your education. So it's really tough. It's a really tough time right there. So what we're proposing is, so when you need to go and work, you're actually getting skills training on the job, and you're getting paid, so you can actually complete your education and learn on the job, get great skills, so that when you finish your education, you don't have a job, you don't have a resume that says I have an education but no experience. You're going to go to an employer and it's going to have education and experience, and that will increase your opportunity and your chances to get a job. So it means creating jobs in a sustainable economy. So, just making sure that what we do, we can keep building on, and we can keep building on, so it's not like a one-shot deal and that's it. We need to really plan long-term for the future. So that's about jobs. And should I go through the whole thing and then ask for questions? Is that how it works? Or?
However you want to do it, Patti. It's whatever's most comfortable.
Okay, so what might be helpful is if you guys, I'm going to go through each one, and if you have any questions on jobs or education or environment or healthcare, write them down and then we'll just take them all afterwards. I think that might be helpful. Okay. Oh, I lost my microphone here.
It's okay. You can just leave it up.
Okay. Spare parts.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just see here. There, I think it's on. So education. So I've put no mission is impossible. Like I went back to school and it was a big curve, but if you have the opportunity to stay in school and keep going, you take advantage of it. So it means investing our future in improving public education. So right now, we have big classrooms and we don't have enough special education teachers in the system. We've lost 3,000 teaching positions over the last 12 years, and 1,500 of those were special education teachers. So what that does is it puts a lot of pressures on teachers, and it puts a lot of pressure on you guys to learn. So if people have special needs or they need extra help, and we don't have extra people in to take care of it, it makes for not as comfortable, not as good a learning environment, and sometimes there's safety issues with that as well. And we want to have our teachers have good working conditions, because happy teachers are happy classrooms, I think. So we do that. So we're going to make sure that teachers have the right to be able to negotiate for class size, and I think that's really important too, because they need to have some say in how things happen for their students, because who knows better about the education system than the people that work in it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work with teachers to make sure we have the best education system that we possibly can. We're going to take real and meaningful action on bullying. We're going to put money forward so that we don't have such sad stories in the press of people that are really, really bullied, and we need to take action on that. So we'll be putting money into bullying, anti-bullying programs. When you get into university, most people after university have about $27,000 worth of debt. So you leave university, you leave college, and then you've got to go find a job. You've got this debt, and there's not a lot of good paying jobs out there. We're going to work on improving that. So you've got this loan to pay, you've got to pay rent, you've got to, buy food, how are you going to get to school, work, you've got all these things you have to pay for. And you have debt. So what we're going to do as an NDP government is we're going to put in people that need it, have a financial need. We're going to have the student loans, but they're going to be a forgivable grant portion, a big portion, so that when you leave school, you will not be saddled with a huge debt before you even get a good start. So I'm really excited about that. And I went to school as a grandma, so I had student debt as a grandma. So there you go. I know how much it costs. It costs a lot to go to school. So this is a really good program for young people. Very good. And we're going to be working with First Nations more, and that goes on their language. So we've got money available to help, and that will help in Chilliwack as well. I worked with Stalo off and on for about 8 years, and I was actually, yes?
My mom worked with Stella for 2.
Okay. Should we just wait so that I can get through? And thanks. Just write it down. I'll take it. But we want to make sure that we work with First Nations so that there's economic opportunities and revenue sharing, so that when we're doing a project, that they actually get a share of that for their community as well. So environment, and I know when I've talked to young people, when I've been out canvassing that are your age, it's very, very important. So I would imagine there's some questions here about that. So, change for the better means protecting our environment and fighting climate change. So what we're going to do is we're going to we take the carbon tax. We're going to take the tax right now. They're on public schools and things like that. And it's an unfair burden, but we're going to increase the tax for people that are venting emissions. So people that event emissions, and then we're going to increase their taxes, and there'll be a tax on that. And what we're going to do with the carbon tax, it's not going to be revenue neutral and just go into the general pot. We're going to be using it for transportation and innovation, green technology. So we have a lot of room to do there. I mean, we all live here. We know what the air gets like in the summer. So we're going to work hard, and we're going to try and find other solutions and move away from the fossil fuel as much as we can. But what that's going to take is money for innovation and different alternate sources of transportation. And when we're talking about our future and what are we waiting for, we need to protect our planet. We need to start now. We need to really step up, and we need to start now. It's very, very important to the NDP, and I think it's important to everyone, and it should be, because this is our planet. So when I took my business training at Royal Roads, and we did a master's in business, we also talked about something called corporate social responsibility. And what that means, when I talk about having environment over here and business over here, is I think we can successfully take care of our people, our planet, and we can still make profits. So that's really important. So when we're looking at the pipelines, I think will come up. We do not want oil ports along our coast, and we're going to we have come out against that. And what we are looking at is we need to do proper environmental assessment. Now, when I was working for the BC Wildlife Federation, I have seen our environmental assessment process gutted in Ottawa and in Victoria. They have taken all of the teeth out of it, and we're right now, the Water Act is under review, and we want to possibly put in something about fishery habitat besides water to kind of get that. So we want a made in BC environmental assessment process, so we get the final say. The people of our province, your parents, and you guys, when you get a couple of years older, have the say on what happens. That we do a proper analysis, that we make sure that we look short term, that we look long term. We look at if we have a whole bunch of projects together, there's something called a cumulative impact. So we're going to work on that. Healthcare. Healthcare, change for the better just means improving healthcare. So healthy life, healthy foods. We have a program here in Chilliwack. Agriculture is a big part of what we do. 7% of our jobs are directly related to agriculture. So we're going to be doing programs, Eat BC, Feed BC and Grow BC. So this is going to really help our ag sector and make sure that we support it. We have everything we need in this community. We're close to the highway. We have good trade agreements with U.S. We can do a lot with our agriculture community. We have land that is zoned for food production that isn't being used. It's just sitting there empty. So an NDP government, we can put some money into that and make more jobs and help local farmers and producers and really grow our community of Chilliwack. So change for the better. Okay, and then we talk about less cost for prescriptions and more health care for families and then for seniors as well. I'm going to end this with change for the better means restoring trust in our democracy and offering good government. Part of what we do as an NDP party and part of what makes me really proud to be a part of the NDP party is we are running a positive campaign. It makes it much easier to be positive and to take the high road. So, like my grandma always said, if you don't get into the fight, you don't get hurt. So, you know, if you take the high road and you try and keep positive, so we don't say anything bad about the other people that are running in the other parties. We just don't do that. We don't believe in it. We don't think it's right. What we do talk about is maybe their policy isn't so good. Maybe the way they're doing this isn't so good. But nothing about the people themselves. We don't do that. And I think that my understanding on it is some of this stuff that I see going on with the other parties, it almost is like bullying at a different level. So I'm really proud that we don't do that and we're not going to go there. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Wow, thank you for giving a really, really detailed platform. I could see students busily writing away with steam coming off their pencils. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So if people can let me know their names when you can say names, that would be great.
We haven't done that yet, but that's a great idea. So if we pick you for a question, if you could introduce yourself with your first name first before you ask your question. And Patti, just for the benefit of the viewers online, if you don't mind me repeating the question just before you answer it.
Okay.
Some of our kids have soft voices and the questions can't be heard on
I appreciate that.
Awesome.
That would be great.
So Dylan, would you like to start?
Dylan. Will you be putting more money into technology in our school systems?
So the question for the viewers online was, will you put more money into technology in schools?
I believe it is a part of our platform. We're going to be putting a lot of money into schools, and I believe that will include technology. Does that help? Oh.
Hi, I'm Haley, and what is your opinion on the chlorine in Chilliwack's water?
Well, my opinion on the chlorine is that we need to have safe water. I met with our mayor, Sharon Gates, and before everything kind of changed. And right now it's already done. I know that it doesn't taste as good as it did, but we do need to have safe water. So I've had a lot of people ask me about it, so that's something I might be able to take forward. I don't know what the outcome would be, but I would be willing to take it forward. Yeah.
Oh, my name's Mikey, and
I'm Mikey.
What are your opinions on the incinerator getting put
So the question was, what is your opinion on the incinerator?
Thanks for the question, Mikey. We have come out against the waste to energy incinerator, and the only way that we would allow it or support it is if the Fraser Valley Regional District decided that it was okay and that it met the standards, and I don't see that happening, but as is, we're against it.
What's your opinion on salmon farming?
On salmon farming? Well, I was a member of the Cohen Inquiry, and I've been a long-time fisheries advocate on all sorts of fisheries issues. Our party is committed to working on the 75 recommendations from the Cohen Inquiry. Personally, I am on record that I don't think open net salmon farming is the best thing, and we need to really look at that. Our party's position is that they will be following the Cohen inquiry, and I believe we will be moving the open net salmon farming out of the migration routes.
My name is Dalen.
Hi, Dalen. Thank you.
My name's Amber, and what are you going to do for education?
So the question was, what will you do for education?
Well, thank you for your question. Is there anything in particular about education that's important to you?
How will you stop bullying?
How will we stop bullying? That's a really good question. We have money available, and we're going to be working with the BC schools and putting in money so that we can have anti-bullying programs. And then I'll start on this side of the room. Yeah.
My name is Dakota, and my question is, would you do a lot of things in the last that way we could do a lot of donations to the people in Africa and all that, not?
So the question was, will we be looking after other people in other countries, but that's really a federal, not a provincial question.
I think I want to answer that. So I think there's a lot of ways that, as individuals, if we're interested, we can do that, or we can belong to different nonprofits that do that. But as a government, that's not something that the provincial government does. And it wouldn't matter which party, but good question. I'm going to move over here. Sure.
My name's Hannah, and will you increase the budgeting for schools?
So the question was, will you increase funding for schools?
We will increase funding for schools. That's part of our platform. If anybody wants the exact numbers, what I would suggest you do is go to the website, bcndp.bc.ca, and you can look at the platform, and it actually talks, there's a whole section on education. This is just a very brief part of it, and it'll actually tell you how much we're going to be putting in. We're really going to support it. You guys are our future. It's very important.
Hi, my name is Nathan. I was wondering what you would do for university and college, and how much you have to pay for it.
So the question is, will you change the costs or the affordability for colleges and universities to make it more affordable?
I don't have an answer on the cost of universities right now, but I do have an answer on making it more affordable, and that is why we're going to be doing these forgivable student grants. So I know that when the NDP was in power, when we were in power before, we actually did put a freeze on tuition rates, but I'm not sure, I can't promise that. I don't think that's in the platform, but what we can do is help people to be able to afford to pay that. So I hope that answers your question.
I'm JL, and my question is, what are your opinions of lowering the taxes?
So the question was, what are your opinions on lowering taxes?
Well, thank you for the question. What we're going to be doing is, we can't afford, I don't think any of the parties can afford to lower taxes. But what we can do, but we're not going to increase taxes. So 98% of British Columbians will see no change to their taxes. What will happen is high-income earners, and these are people that make $150,000 a year or more, will get a small increase. So I'll just give you an example. So if you make $150,000, your increase would be $1,100. And if you made $200,000, it would go up a little bit. So it's not going to hurt that much. We're also going to be putting in a corporate tax. So a higher corporate tax and the bank's tax. So in 2008, we pulled the tax. Liberals pulled the tax, and there was no tax for banking anymore. And so what we're going to do is put a 3% tax on banks because they're making billions of dollars in profit right now, and a 1% tax on credit unions. So really what that means is the people and the corporations and the banks that have more than the rest of us are going to put their shoulder to the wheel and help a little more so that we can all move forward and address poverty, inequality, and being able to help us get on track. We'll get more jobs, then everybody pays more tax because they're working, you pay tax, and that'll make our economy much more healthy. Does that help? Or does that answer your question? Okay.
So Patty, I think we have time for 4 more questions.
Oh, I don't know
So
who
there's
to
a lot of
pick.
hands, so can I pick for you?
Yes, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
So we'll start with Sarah.
What are your thoughts on equal rights?
On equal rights.
The question was, what are your thoughts on equal rights?
Okay, well, I'm going to start with gender equity. So and this is what I talked to you about young women at the door. This is 2013, and only 29% of our elected positions in the province are held by women. So we have 3 levels of government. We have municipal, we have provincial, and then we have federal politics. So you can run at all different levels. So as you get up into each level, there's less and less women. So the NDP is very committed to gender equity. As a woman and as a mother and a grandmother, it's very important to me that we have balance in our decision making, and part of why I'm running is I want to lead by example. So that's gender equity. I believe that for everyone, if I'm elected as MLA, I will be here to represent all of my constituents and equally. And part of what we're working on here is we're working on to improve inequality for everyone. Nobody will be left behind. So that's our goal, and that's what we're going to work towards. Thank you.
The leader.
What are your goals while in office?
The question was, what are your goals while in office?
Well, I would like to represent our community in the best way I can. I would really like to see our community have more jobs, and our downtown area. You guys are living in the downtown area. There's some societal problems happening here. And part of what I've done is, in the past when I was working for the Chamber of Commerce in my last job, I put forward policy on derelict buildings. So what we have is absentee landlords, and they're gone, and these buildings are just sitting empty, and it's like they suck the life out of everything around them. And then what happens, you have maybe drug dealers and other things happening in that area, and there's nobody there. So I really want to help create a more healthy community economically, so that we really can address some of these issues. So and work with business, work with the First Nations. I've met with the chiefs and council, so that we pull people together. I think really what's important is, my goal is to pull people together in our community and find out what they want, and that's what I'll be doing, and that's what will be my goals. I think as a public servant, and this is part of what politics is all about, I lead, but how you do that is you're representing your constituents. I'm a public servant, so I work for you. So that's what it really means. So thank you for your question.
Shelley.
My name is Shelley, and I was wondering where your party will spend the healthcare money.
Where we'll spend it on for healthcare? Well, right now we see, and I have a business background, so I can speak to this right now we're seeing a lot of wastage, a lot of the healthcare is the biggest budget out of everything. When I was working on environmental issues and that, when I talked to our environment minister, we were really struggling because they were cutting positions and conservation and that. And he said that the Fraser Valley, or the Fraser Health Authority, their budget was bigger than the whole budget for the whole Ministry of Environment for the province. So that just gives you an idea of how big the budgets are and how much of our money goes into that. So what we need to do, I think, is we need to become more lean, more efficient. There's a lot of things that are happening in our healthcare system that don't make sense. I have family members with healthcare issues, and there's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of things being done that don't need to be done, that could be done a lot more. We're going to be putting money in for seniors, more at-home care. We're going to be cutting costs of prescriptions, so that will help everyone. So, like I said before, if you want details, go to the website and have a look, and each one has got like healthcare, education, all the different pieces, and it'll tell you exactly how we're going to do things and how we're going to pay for it.
Tyrell.
What are your opinions on the pipeline going through Alberta?
Alberta?
Yeah, what the pipeline's going through.
So the question is, what are your opinions on the pipeline that's going through from Alberta through British Columbia?
Okay, I gotcha. Thank you. Well, Kinder Morgan, as you all know, is already going through, and it's a very old pipeline. It's over 50 years old, and they're going to replace that. And I think that's a good idea. I mean, we want to make sure that if it's there, it's going to be safe. The twinning of the pipeline, we've come out and said, wait a minute, we're not going to do that. What we need to do is the province, the Liberal government, took their authority to do proper assessment, and they gave it to Ottawa. So Ottawa has a decision maker. So within 10 days, if we're elected, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take that authority back, and we're going to bring it to BC, and we're going to have a made in BC environmental assessment process, and look at that. But we are not going to be turning any of our coastline or our ports into oil ports. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our presentation by Patti MacAhonic from the BC NDP party in the riding of Chilliwack. So thank you very much, Patti.